Good. Okay. So we are going to reconvene to open session and call to order at 6:01. Excuse me. Please be advised that this meeting is being recorded at the direction of the board. The recording may capture both the images and voices of those attending the meeting. A link to the live Spanish interpretation of the Zoom meeting will be posted on both Facebook and our district website for anyone who would like to listen.
Se publicará un enlace en Facebook y en el sitio web del distrito para acceder a la interpretación en vivo en español de la reunión por Zoom, para quienes desean escucharla.
And report of actions taken in closed session, there were none. Attendance roll call, President Reed here, Clerk Rios. Here. Trustee Gonzalez, Trustee Lopez Jones. Trustee Rothberg Allen. Okay, Pledge of Allegiance. Our district mission statement. At Calistoga, we empower students to graduate with respect, empathy, integrity, and the skills needed for success in life and work. We provide a supportive, inclusive environment where students gain essential academic knowledge, critical thinking abilities, and real-world skills. Our goal is to ensure all students feel a sense of belonging, are prepared for future opportunities, and graduate with pride, resilience, and a passion for lifelong learning. Public comment on open session items? So that includes public business from the floor, non-agenda items. We have none. Okay, so information, 45-day state budget update. Maureen.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to our new 26-27 school year. Woot woot. Okay, Ed Code, we're going to start off with a bang here. Ed Code 42127 requires an LEA to revise its budget after the state has adopted their budget. And if there are significant changes to a local LEA's budget, we have to come back and report it to the board within 45 days of the state budget adoption. So they adopted the budget on June 29th. We have until August 13th to make these changes public. And so that's what we're doing tonight, is making them public. So yay. Okay. So this is just an overview of the 26-27 state budget that was enacted on June 29th. The budget totals are over 351 billion in total expenditures for our state fund, 251 billion in the general fund, and of that, Prop 28 has a minimum guarantee of 128.1 billion. Budget solutions include ongoing expenditure reductions, more than 5 billion in targeted revenue actions, and limited new ongoing commitments. It preserves core programs while making targeted investments. It builds record reserves of 35.2 billion by the end of the year, and it relies in part on deferring 3.9 billion in Prop 98 obligations. And just to touch on that a little bit, the governor's holding back about 3.9 billion in Prop 98 obligations to school districts. There are various groups that feel that this is not legal in standing for Prop 98 and what the minimum guarantee represents. And so there are legal proceedings that they'll go through to try and see if they can get that 3.9 billion delivered to districts. I am going to say, I should have said this before I started, these are all slides of the school services budget adoption webinar. So none of this is of my own creation until we get to the end. So I just kind of picked some slides that I thought were relevant in speaking about the state budget adoption. Of course, the risks to our economy in the state budget are that budget assumptions rely on continued economic growth and stable financial markets. So if something goes awry there, we'll have some problems with our state budget. There is still insurance market instability with wildfire recovery costs and climate-related disasters. California's reliance on technology and financial markets increases our volatility. And a lot of that is because from capital gains, where we get income into the state budget, if people are selling capital gains and then the tech market takes a big nosedive, that does affect us on a statewide level. and then growing Medi-Cal costs and reduce federal Medicaid funding. So the state of California is saying we don't want to decrease people from getting Medi-Cal. We want to take whatever the federal government isn't giving us, and we want to replace it with state funds. And so that is quite a cost for the state government. On the Prop 98 side of the house, school districts that get ADA revenue, we are a property tax district, we're a basic aid district. We don't get ADA, we don't get our revenue this way, but in school districts that do, the statutory COLA is 2.87. And there's an additional LCFF investment this year of 1.44% for a total COLA of 4.31%. That varies a little differently than what we've projected in our budget at 3.5 of property tax growth. So the state's actually looking to see a little bit more revenue for school districts than what we're projecting in our own property tax growth. So just to keep that in mind. There are some things that have been added to the Prop 98 budget. State preschool is one of them. So in the former years, state preschool used to be its own separate entity, and it's now been rolled into TK through 12 and community college funding for Prop 98. And so just a note to say that now CSPP contracts to the state preschools are part of our Prop 98 funding. And so they had to do a rebench to show what the allocation for Prop 98 was going to be statewide. LCFF equity multiplier. This is the money we get for Palisades statewide. We thought at first it was going to be a $50,000 revenue line for us, but it is actually going to be $53,181. So that gave us a little bit more revenue on Palisades. It's the goal 4 in our LCAP. And so that was nice to see a little increase there. Something new that came into the state budget adoption was the Student Support and Professional Development Discretionary Block Grant. That's how I see it. Sorry. So funding for this is the one-time funds that the governor is saying, hey, we know we owe you Prop 98 money from prior year. We're going to give it to you in one-time funding. And so this is how the one-time funding comes to us. It's going to be about $930 per ADA. We'll talk in a few minutes about how much that is for our district. It's quite substantial. It's great because we as a basic aid district get to get these funds in addition to our property tax revenue. So we're happy to have them. There are allowable uses. They're saying that we should spend them in the following areas: professional development, dual enrollment career pathways, teacher recruitment and retention, community schools, deferred maintenance, and other rising costs. So it's kind of open. But we do have to report our final expenditures, and we have to, if we don't spend all the money in the next couple of years, in the next 5 years, we have to hold a public hearing of the plans of how we want to address our declining enrollment impact. And so that is something new that comes along with receiving one-time funds. We haven't had to do this in the past, but we will be doing it in the future. Universal Meals is still in effect for our 45-day update. They gave a little bit of a bump, but all LEAs are required to provide both breakfast and free lunch to any student who requests it. Kitchen and infrastructure training grants. They skipped these for a couple of years, but they're coming back. They came back in 25-26 and 26-27. We're going to receive about almost $27,000 to just buy things in the kitchen that are needed. One of the big ongoing restricted increases that we're getting, but it's going to help us on the unrestricted side, is special education investments. So there was actually a 43% increase in what the state gives per student on special education funding. So we're now at $1,340 per funded special ed student for our district. So we're going to see a good increase in that, and I'll talk about that, what that is, in a few minutes. Learning Recovery and Emergency Block Grant. This was something that the state gave to school districts back in 22-23, I believe. We got about 1.4 million when they gave it to us, but then they had a shortfall. They took a bunch of money back. Now that they don't have a shortfall, they're giving some money back to us. So we are able to spend that money as long as we talk about spending that money in our LCAP and what actions we will cover with the funds. So this is what the updates look like for our district. These are all of the income updates as a result of the state budget adoption. And some of these I didn't have in the budget at all because we didn't know what the answer was yet. And some of these I had information in the budget, but not the same information after the budget got passed by the state. So you can see learning recovery, we're gonna get about 175,000. That one-time block grant, we're gonna get about $647,000. That's the 960 per ADA. And then kit funds is almost 27,000. You can see all the other ones down below. I did have budget numbers in when we adopted, but they've changed somewhat. A big one for that is the special education base rate. We were at 771,000. We're going to go up to over 1,054,000, which is fantastic. What that does for us is we make a huge contribution to special ed. We're going to be able to not make such a huge contribution, and we'll be pulling that money back, which then goes into our unrestricted dollars. One important thing I want everybody to notice is that all of this extra funding is not unrestricted. It is all restricted in some way, shape, or form. So we don't just get to spend anything any way we want. There are rules tied to all of these dollars. Expenses. So as we start the new year, we don't really have a lot of change in expenses. That normally comes to the board at first interim, where I've been able to go through and show all of our staffing changes, benefit changes, all of that. But just right off the bat, I know we are going to be increasing our expenditures by at least 115,000 to make it simple. And you can see all those various areas that they are occurring. Some of them I didn't have in the budget because I didn't know what we were going to be doing. Some of them I had numbers, but I got concrete numbers after the budget passed. So you can see those numbers there. That's a total of 114,000 in expenditure increases. This is kind of a snapshot, what it does to our whole budget. We are increasing our revenue by 1.18 million. Total expenditures, $114,000 increase. I also wanted to note that on these expenditure increases, you can see most of them in its entirety are unrestricted expenditure increases, not restricted. So they don't match up with the income that we are receiving on the restricted column. But with all of that being said and being able to reduce our special ed contribution a little bit, we have reduced our deficit spending in unrestricted by a little over 215,000. And we have increased our restricted ending fund balance by enough to improve our reserve percentage from 4.95 to 14.95 to 15.63%. So that would be if today we haven't spent any of those dollars and we ended our school year, everything flushed out to our ending fund balance. That's what our ending fund balance would increase to. We haven't had meetings to even figure out where we're going to spend all of these dollars yet. So as soon as we know those answers, those will go into our budget and all of this will change, and it'll probably change in a matter of weeks. So this is just a snapshot of where we are today based on the 45-day budget adoption update. And that's all I have for you unless you have questions.
I have a question about the Prop 98 shenanigans. I don't understand why we're looking at a record reserve, but we still need to hold back 10% of that from Prop 98 funding. Why not just have a smaller reserve and fully fund 98?
I think it might have been a different story if Medi-Cal weren't part of it. I think they were trying to really balance between what they were doing with Medi-Cal versus what they were doing with Prop 98. But I would say that ongoing is a lot different than one time. So knowing that it was ongoing funds, it'd be a lot easier to make that decision. Not ongoing funds, it's not. This is starting to become a habit. They tried it last year as well. And so I think that if the governor continues to get his way in earmarking it as what he's earmarking it as, it's going to get harder and harder to defend in court. But I do think that it's worth a fight because that's a lot of money to leave on the table for education and ADA districts.
Add to that as well. I think also there seems to be more money coming on the K-12 side. But they are struggling on the non-education side. And so they're using money from Prop 98 and the education side to balance out expenditures on the non-education side. And that's what their hope is. I do know that, CSBA and AXA, I'm guessing CTA, really want to push back, and there might be some suits that are going to come and say, hey, you can't legally do those things. But right now it feels like they're using education funds to help out the other areas instead of trying to come up with another solution in the other areas.
Yep.
But all great questions to ask our governor.
Thank you, Maureen. Okay, item 7, reports. First up is Calistoga Associated Teachers.
Hello, all right. So in this report, I'm gonna be talking about priorities with a reminder that the number one priority in our district should be doing what's best for students, kids. First, I'd like to say thank you to the superintendent and the district for hearing our concerns about the new play structure and committing to coming up with a solution. New play structure is nice, but during the spring and summer, teachers escalated concerns via leadership and later directly to the superintendent because the direct sun on warm days is making it too hot for the kids to play on. And it's largely going unused on those days. So we want kids to have safe, comfortable, and enjoyable recess time. So we asked whether the district could find a way to shade the play structure. And the superintendent's welcome back letter says that this will be happening in the upcoming months. So thank you for listening to teachers and taking action to do what's best for children. This was a perfect example of collaborative problem solving. Which brings me to the second topic I'm going to address, the California Labor Management Initiative, or CalMI. At the June board meeting, CalMI was referred to as a win-win with no real downsides. When Cat last participated in CalMI, the cost of the district came to more than $28,000 for that year alone. That's a real downside, especially when the district is saying that we're deficit spending and can't afford other important things in the budget. Spending tens of thousands of dollars on something as unnecessary as CalMI is not a win-win when that money could be better spent on things that directly benefit students, employees, and their families. At a budget advisory committee meeting, the outdoor education programs for students, including Marin Headlands, Yosemite, and Sea Lab, were referred to as low-hanging fruit that could potentially be cut from the budget to save money. Prioritizing CalMI in the budget over things like outdoor ed is not a win. It's a loss for students. When it comes to healthcare costs, some teachers have to now pay $25,000 per year to have insurance for their families. So when thousands of dollars go towards CalMI instead of health insurance, that's not a win for employees, it's a loss. Improving access to family healthcare could even help prevent declining enrollment because it makes it more affordable to have children. So CalMI is actually a lose in many ways for many people, and quite frankly, there's a lot of downside to it if there's not money in the budget for other higher priority items. To be clear, Calistoga Associated Teachers absolutely do want to be involved in collaborative problem solving, but that doesn't require participation in CalMI. In fact, it shouldn't require any third-party involvement at all, and it doesn't have to cost a single penny. I taught summer school for a couple weeks this year, and our very first lesson, literally the first thing kids learned when they walked through the door, was about collaboration. This was the first activity in the Galileo STEM kits, and at no point did the activity say that collaboration required spending money or getting third-party institutions involved, because those things are simply not required in order to collaborate. This year, only about 30 of the 1,000 school districts in California are participating in CalMI. When 97% of school districts are not participating in a program, that shows just how unnecessary it is. Collaborative problem solving is already happening in our district through committees, PLCs, and more. It's also why we've reached out to board trustees to meet with teachers, because the school board is another important part of the collaborative process. Effective problem solving occurs when employees are included in important discussions and decisions that are being made. That requires communication and work, but it does not require participation in CalMI.
Regarding the statements about the Budget Advisory Committee, was outdoor ed the only possible topic that was discussed as a budgetary area where we could possibly save money?
No, it was also not listed as something that we were going to definitively cut.
Right.
It was a conversation piece. The actual first conversation about outdoor ed came from my questioning in terms of not understanding or curiosity about why we do outdoor ed in 5th and 6th grade and we don't do anything at the junior, senior high school. So that's where the question actually started from. It wasn't related to cost at all. It was brought up in our budgetary meetings in terms of what the numbers were and how much more they were going to cost. But it was never decided on that we were cutting any of those.
So if we could stop that rhetoric, I would appreciate that. And I look forward to addressing this at my board report at the end of this meeting. But that's all I have to say for now.
Rhetoric being that it was talked about as something that could possibly be cut. CalMI was
As
not
you
listed.
bringing it up as the only option, as that the board has brought up as a program to cut on multiple occasions.
What I said was that CalMI was not an option, and it's
I'm
28,000.
not talking about CalMI. I am talking about your comparison to cutting outdoor education as a way for us to save money while we're spending money on CalMI. That is not what we are doing. Us cutting outdoor education has never been said.
No.
Us putting it on the cutting block has never been put. So please stop that rhetoric. It is a false statement.
My statement was true for the record. That was what I said was stated at the Budget Advisory Committee, absolutely was stated. Verbatim, and there are other members of CAT there, if you'd like to talk with them. I wished you had been there. It'd be great to have. more
I
members.
apologize. I was not there at that one meeting. I hope that you do stay till the end of this meeting to hear my board report because I have plenty of fact to share with everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next, Classified School Employees Association.
Hi, everyone. Mine is going to be a little short. So, Dr. Pittman and members of the board. Last year, our CSEA team worked hard to negotiate important improvements for our members, including raises, health benefits, health benefit improvements, education, and bilingual stipends. We are proud of the progress we made and grateful for the collaboration that helped make the accomplishments possible. As we begin a new school year, CSEA is excited to start a new chapter and continue working collaboratively with the district to advocate for the best possible outcome for our classified union members. We would also like to sincerely thank our previous union representative, Shawana Grace. Sadly, today she told us that she will no longer be representing us. Yes. And we would like to thank her for her incredible leadership and support throughout the last school year. As a new team, we worked very well together, learned a great deal from one another, and accomplished important things for our members. We will truly miss working with Shawana and are grateful for everything she contributed to our union team. It was a very good collaborative teamwork. We were all new and we learned so much from her. But at the same time, we are excited to welcome back our previous union representative, Will Poe. We look forward to continuing our positive working relationship with him and benefiting from his experience and guidance as we move forward. We are excited for the year ahead and look forward to continuing to represent, support, and advocate for our classified staff. All in partnership and collaboration with everyone. Especially our union members, our classified union members, the district team, and us who work really hard every day, spend a lot of time and effort to represent those who need it. So thank you everyone for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Director of Facilities, Maintenance, Operations, and Transportation, Chris.
Welcome back. I hope you had a good July. Ours was action-packed, that's for sure. So we'll just go through what we've got going on. The generator pads are poured, the generators are put in place. We're about as far as we can go right now. For the elementary school, we're required to have PG&E do design on the project for how it connects to the transformer. So we didn't pour the entire pad yet because once we have the information from PG&E, we know where all the conduits will need to go, and we'll get all those laid out, and then we could pour the last of the pad of concrete. For PG&E's design, we're in line to start with them mid-August, and they expect to have their information back to us that they need us to do by mid-September. That switchgear is just standard switchgear, but still has a long lead time. I believe our current ship date is November. So we could be looking at doing that over the Christmas break. The high school does not require PG&E's design, but it does require a specific custom built switchgear for us. And that's slated for February. Thankfully, that project, connecting that generator will likely not require doing it on a weekend or over a break. So we should be able to get that going right away. The portable relocation, we had additional scope planned through that same contractor. However, we found their quotes to be almost double what they really should be. So we've had to find other contractors to handle that work. We had the elementary school grass ready to go. We had a company that I used in a pinch for the baseball field. We needed to get grass growing, and he had a specific process that it sprayed germinated seed as opposed to regular seed, and it moved much faster. However, we were trying to get a hold of him for about a week and then realized he's no longer in business. And so that kind of threw a wrench in our hopes to have that grass ready. The plan is to have the sod started. They're prepping right now. We were able to find a contractor that was much cheaper to do it as well. So they're going to start around the shade structure. We're putting grass around those tree areas, and then they'll move back into the field. So by the time kids come, they're not working directly around kids. And then for the project, for the portables usability, it's kind of interesting at the elementary school. We were able to just put them in as is, but this area is considered a high hazard fire zone. So it requires some additional protection, like doors, the exterior, the insulation, vents and stuff like that. We had the same issue when we were doing the temporary portables for the STEM building. But we have all the specs. We're just waiting to confirm that DSA says that it meets what it needs to be. Right now, the current schedule for occupancy is October, but we don't think we're going to get held up with DSA, and we should be having those done sooner. The rekey at the elementary school has actually gone really good. I was out there this morning handing out keys. All the teachers have keys, and then I just got all the sets from them today so that I can give the school side an entire set, all the keys I need for paras and psychologists and all that other stuff. So that one went really well. I'm glad it wasn't quite like the high school. The baseball home run fence right now, it's back in DSA because there's the right field, there's a turnaround for the fire department, and that post needs a new specification, so it must probably just be bigger. So once DSA gets back to us with that, we can get moving on that. A couple of smaller projects that are either in process, finished, or hoping to happen. Palisades just got painting started on Friday. It should be done tomorrow, most likely. It looks really good. I mean, they've pretty much done it now. They've just got to do some of the fine trim parts. We are looking to paint the two portables we just moved because they don't really look right the way they are, as well as the shipping containers that are out in the field, and some touch up at the softball field while we're out there painting. So those all look uniform and they're not all multicolored. Let's see, since the portables had sinks out at the elementary school, we're gonna put in a drinking fountain on that side of the playground. It's been asked for quite a bit. I'm glad we're able to get that done. The company that's doing the grass is also doing that. The STEM building, we ended up doing, one of the doors to the main hallway has got an automatic door. So, push the button, automatically opens and closes. The two interior doors of the office hallway also got those door openers. So, easier for some of our students to get in and out. Over at the STEM building, we ran into something we hadn't anticipated. The really huge windows that are there let in a lot of light, almost too much to where they could barely teach in some of the classrooms. And it was quite the process to find a shade that would go that big because it's 24 feet. So we did finally get that. Those were installed over the summer. I did see Jeremy today and he's super excited. They also had some loud HVAC. The design wasn't that great. The engineer came up with a new design. It's much quieter, so those teachers are all happy. If you've noticed, on most occasions, there's some lights on in the exterior. When this building and the gym was built, that lighting control system was obsolete. Like this, just as soon as it closed out. So I can't even buy the unit to control it, and they're both down. So I'm just waiting for scheduling, but we're gonna get the dead lights fixed, and then all those lights will be on a new system, so we can actually program them, have them go off when it's light out and dark, or on when it's dark. We had some electrical and air compressor upgrades in the wood shop. He got a really nice CNC router, some other fun tools. So he needed to, when he had to do some work in there, we're almost out of power there. So hopefully he doesn't get any more things. And then the last thing it was mentioned earlier is the shade for the TK project. That one came to you with the change order. That one was well over budget, so we couldn't pull off the shades, but these particular shades we found, are within the exemptions of the DSA IRA 22, which is kind of how you figure out if you got to go to DSA. So I'm talking with the equipment company. He came up with the idea of these shade structures to go on the existing structure. So It'll be a total of 6. So it'll be 1 at the TK kindergarten because that structure is fairly small, 2 at the kinder, and then 3 at the main. So, that's it for now. Questions?
Quiet summer.
Oh yeah, for sure. Totally smooth too. Totally smooth.
Well, thank you, Chris.
Yep.
Next is Director of Business Services, Maureen.
Okay, I'll try and be quick since you've already heard from me tonight. So I'm right in the middle of closing books for the 25-26 school year. This is a huge task that takes lots of hours and lots of concentration. We're probably a little less than halfway done and have about another 15 days to complete year-end closing. Our business office this year processed over $15.8 million in payroll in the 25-26 school year. This was an increase of over $700,000 from 24-25. Each month, we pay an average of 183 employees. We have more than just our staff payroll that we pay out. We also pay out substitutes, coaching stipends, and other stipends within the district. So that 700,000 includes all of that as well. We processed 1,168 requisitions and/or purchase orders last year in the business department, totaling over $41.3 million. That does include all of our funds, including adult ed, food services, developer fees, bond funds, and last but not least, our capital outlay fund. I'm saying all this because the time and attention to detail, as well as meeting deadlines in our business office, is difficult to say the least sometimes, but we have a team that continues to work hard and dedicate themselves to supporting our students and our staff each and every day. And for that, I am truly grateful. I submitted our annual attendance back in the beginning of July. We're officially under 700 ADA being reported. That's average daily attendance. Our annual ADA reported was 696.67. With our enrollment in 25-26 down to 737 students, that's a daily attendance average of 94.5%. Even though our enrollment numbers are declining, we are seeing that our daily average attendance is up and above the state average, which is around 93.4%. So that's some good news. Once in a while, I get to deliver good news. Auditors will be auditing our 25-26 fiscal year the week of September 28th. This is where they audit mostly all the financial reports and documents because it's after we are done closing the books. One thing that did change with the 26-27 budget adoption in the auditor category is that audits will no longer be due December 15th. They'll be due January 31st. They used to be due in the middle of December, and the auditor would have to come report to the board in January. Now the auditor will have to report to the board 45 days after the budget is released or the audit is released. So we may see them in January, we may see them in February. I'm hoping we can stick with the same schedule and the auditors still come in January and we still actually submit our reports in December. That's a very popular report with bond agencies and different organizations that ask for it. And that's all I have, unless you have questions.
Thank you, Maureen. Next, Director of Educational Services and Human Resources, Michael.
All right, good evening. Okay. I am excited about the year ahead. I think that's really an understatement. As an educator, August is like, this is the time, right? You should be so excited, and I am. I'm excited about the year ahead, about seeing the academic progress our students will make, supporting our students making academic progress, supporting their well-being, both physical and social, emotional. Our food service team, seeing their work of providing exemplary meals, our custodial maintenance team for providing great campuses for our kids, for all the work that happens with our school-based teams. Excited about a renewed emphasis on a team approach, recognizing the importance, the contributions of all our staff members, our classified staff, our certificated staff, our management staff, the importance of us working together in concert. Also been thinking about our partners. We're such a small district. We really rely on the partnerships we have outside of the organization. So thinking primarily about the Up Valley Family Center partnership and the County Office of Ed, which are so important to our work, and many, many partners other than that. And just a little bit of like, at this first meeting of the year, being reflective, a little bit philosophical, just thinking about the work we do in public schools, working with the students in our community. This is such a significant responsibility for us, right? For all of us, and such a great opportunity. And I don't think there's anyone more capable of supporting student success than Calistoga Schools. I've never felt more strongly about that. We have the programs, we have the facilities, which are better than ever. And most importantly, we have exemplary staff who are here to help our students reach their goals. And then just like this other thought that's been with me today is, you know, how we go through this year to hold ourselves to a high standard, hold ourselves accountable, hold each other accountable. But how do we do that with grace, right? How do we offer each other grace? Knowing that, that none of us are perfect, right? Those are important things. I can also share with you a little bit about summer learning. You're going to get a full board presentation in September from our principals, but it was great. Randy and Tammy continue to do a great job. Summer school was as smooth as it could be. And really, you know, the extended learning, the ELAP funding has been such a huge win for our students. When you think that we can offer a high quality summer program, a real summer program that is free of charge to our students here in Calistoga, that 40% of our students take advantage of. That means that 40% of our students are really getting an additional full month of schooling per year. What a huge win ELAP has been for our students. Also, a little bit about our staff summer learning. Napa County Office of Education put on a literacy instruction training that some of our staff attended, a math institute down in American Canyon that we had staff attend, summer AVID conference. Maggie Swarner participated in a long series of trainings about for new curriculum for her biomedical science class for Project Lead the Way. And we had a very successful California Labor Management Initiative training with Audra, Maureen, Larry, Monica, and myself, which was valuable in itself as a training, but I think it'll pay big dividends for us this year in our ability to collaborate. Professional development, it's a good time to give an update because we have PD days at the start of the year. One, I'll have a conversation tomorrow with our teaching staff around student screen time, which is something we've talked about. And so we'll talk about that. And I think, you know, where we're heading, I hope, is a pragmatic approach, but that should be a good conversation. I'll come back and share more next month. And then just overall changes in PD. You know, we've done so much technical PD, technical training on our staff development days since 2021, like post-COVID, we've just done a ton of training. And I think this year we are intentionally going to pull back and reduce the amount of training time on our district days. Our staff need time to collaborate on how they're integrating the trainings, those new learnings, those skills into their work. Our principals need time to work directly with staff. We need time to connect and spend more time with one another versus listening to a trainer. That may not always be the case year after year, but this is a year of kind of intentionally looking inward and focusing on ourselves. Also, in terms of professional development, we'll be working with our CSEA partners, our leaders, through the CalME team to discuss a training plan for the classified staff. You know, our classified staff have 1 PD day versus 4 for certificated. So how, when you have less time, do you make sure that classified staff get that quality training that they deserve? And lastly, some initiatives that are top of mind for me this year as we start the year. We'll continue to support our primary grade teachers implementing structured literacy reading instruction. We'll expand that learning to middle grade, upper elementary and middle grade teachers to teach structured literacy practices of teaching reading. Continuing support innovative math instruction at both the elementary and the junior senior high school, along with the K-8 math adoption this year, curriculum adoption. And then lastly, continuing to increase our focus on multi-language learners and our programs through the MNL committee and through our teacher teams, our PLT teams, making sure that our multi-language learners are called out as a unique area of focus when we meet and we talk about our progress. So that's my report, and I'm here to take any questions.
Thank you, Michael. Next up, Superintendent.
Thank you. Welcome back. Happy August. First official week for our staff. Before I go into my report, I do want to welcome both of our principals. They don't have reports tonight because school hasn't started. But I would like to welcome our new principal, Lily Zapata. She hit the ground running, came in July. And I feel like she is fitting in beautifully. Has had a nice, I'm saying, I hope she says the same thing. Welcoming her in. She's had a great start. And we're ready to get the year started. And then obviously we want to welcome back our veteran principal, Miss Monica Baldenegro. Getting, they've been here the past 2 weeks, getting the schools ready to open our doors. I met with various teachers today as I walked around. There's still a few that I wasn't able to cross paths with, so I'll get to them tomorrow. But one asked, "Are you ready?" And I said, "As ready as we're gonna, we have no choice, right? The kids will show up." And one teacher said, "I tell the students when I ask them that to say, I'm born ready, because, right? We gotta be ready. They're gonna be here." So today was the teacher work day. So teachers were all on site. They were in their classrooms, setting up, catching up with each other, collaborating, thinking about the work that they want to do for this year. And just the energy was really exciting and welcoming. And you could tell, to Michael's point, August is always a fantastic month in education. People are excited, they're rested, they miss their kids, they miss their colleagues. And so this year is going to be a fantastic year. We can definitely feel it. Tomorrow is professional development for teachers. That's by site. So CES will be working together there. Junior, senior high school will be working here. And then Wednesday is our all staff day. They'll start out at their sites at about 11:45. We'll come here. We'll have a all district welcome back. We'll have a lunch to break bread. So if you're available at noon on Wednesday, please join us. We're providing lunch. I will unveil our theme and talk about how this is going to roll out over the course of the year. So very excited about this year going into 26, 27. And then obviously the first day of school is Thursday. Seen some kids back on campus. I want to thank our AD who is present representing the athletic department. We had our physicals, a set of physicals today. Tons of kids showed up with their parents so that we can get our sports started this fall. We're going to try to figure out how to get some more on campus so that our kids can be served because it's difficult to get them to doctors sometimes. And so if we can provide that resource here, that's what we want to do so that we can have a strong athletic department. So I do want to thank the ADs for organizing that, working with Cynthia and getting some doctors here to do our assessments. Yes. Great. Excellent. Thank you for communicating that. So we're going to go with the second day, August 20th. Excellent. Okay, so we'll make sure that we push that out. And then thank you. So that's fantastic that they're going to come back. So I'm going to add to that statement about how they said our kids were great, so they're going to come back. This summer we had our youth cinema project first year partnering with the Brannon Center, and it was small but mighty. The kids who went loved it. It's going to extend. It's on the agenda so that we can use ELOP funds to do 2 days for our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders this next school year. And the 2 teachers who work for the Youth Cinema Project, they're in the profession. And they have done, one in particular has been doing this for I think 8+ years. And she just couldn't stop saying that these are the best kids she has ever worked with. She was like, every day I come and these kids are just the best kids I have ever worked with. And so it always makes me feel good. And it's clearly evident when people come and they're like, wait a second. And I'm like, yes, we have great kids, great families, great community, great staff. It's really a special place. So I'm not surprised that they are willing to come back. So thank you for organizing that. This year, working with Napa County Office of Ed and all of the Napa County districts, we're doing a Start Strong attendance campaign. So we made videos, we're pushing out videos and messages that attendance is extremely important. You know, we talk about chronic absenteeism. That's 10% of the time that you're supposed to be somewhere. And that adds up. It doesn't feel like a lot, but any lost day could make a step backward and it's a little bit more difficult for you to move forward. So attendance is extremely important. We know life happens. We know we get sick. We don't want kids to come to school sick, but we want to make sure that our kids and our families know that attendance is important and that when you're here, we're serving you. And so we want to be here at school and we want to make sure that class is engaging and we're meeting the needs of your kids and you want to be here. So that's going to be one of the campaigns that's moving forward countywide. We have our parent data confirmation. So those of you who have students know that you are doing this online on your, hopefully not on your phone, on a laptop or on a computer. We have our parent community liaison who is phenomenal in supporting this work. My executive assistant who helped organize our PDC nights. We are now at, let me get it right because I was just looking at it. Maybe. We are at a total of 77.3% completed. Our goal obviously is 100. So we've got 2 more days to get this done. The high school is at 82.9%. And the elementary school is at 68.4. But our secretaries, our parent community liaison, they all work really hard to reach out to our families to get that done because we want it completed ideally before school starts. So we've got a little bit of work to do, but each year we get better and better. We get smoother and smoother. And so I'm really excited about that work that we're doing. Our Parent Square notifications, just a reminder, we're going to stick with what we did last year. It's going to get better this year. Sundays are going to be from the junior, senior high school. Did we land on Thursdays? Sure. What day? Yeah. So elementary CES will be Thursdays, and then the district will be Fridays. And so we'll continue to try to do that so that we're limiting the amount of messages that our families have to read. You may be aware that Hearts and Hands has officially closed. They closed officially July 31st. I was in communication with them. I then reached out to Boys and Girls Club, and we have a plan. So all of our ELOP, all of our after-school care, TK through 6th grade will be supported through Boys and Girls Club. Registration will be the same for our youngest students, and they will walk over to the club with all of the other students. So I'm excited that it'll be a nice, easy transition. Obviously, this is a gap with Hearts and Hands closing because there is a need in our community for preschool, but unfortunately, they didn't have a location. So I'm very fortunate. We're all very fortunate that we have Boys and Girls Club that we could pivot to and that they were ready and willing to take us. So we're going to be bringing an updated contract moving forward, probably hopefully at the September board meeting, just to outline this additional partnership with Boys and Girls Club. Mark your calendars for Friday, August 21st is our annual Up Valley Back to School Night at Berry Field. The theme is Western. I think it has a different name, but I'm just calling it Western. Okay, Western. I'm putting this out there, putting it on TV. We're trying to figure out how we can get Dolly Parton here to be a part of reading and be a part of the Western tie. So if you use Instagram or anything, you know, what do you call it? Hashtag? What do you call it?
Yeah.
Not a social media. How do you connect somebody?
At them.
Tag. Thank you. Thank you. Don't ask me to do social media. We're going to tag Dolly Parton and she's going to hear about how fantastic Calistoga is. And she's going to come out to our Western back to school themed event. And then our school back to school nights, I am excited to share that we are moving them up this year. So they are as early as they have ever been, probably as early as we can make them. So the elementary school will be Thursday, August 20th. And the junior senior high school will be Thursday, August 27th. So I'm pretty excited that they are happening in August because they like our attendance. It's really important for our families to meet our teachers, to meet our staff as early as possible so we can have a really strong year as we go out into the year. So I'm excited about that. That's my report.
Well, questions regarding the new agreement with Boys and Girls Club for the TK after school. Is there a way that we can push that out to TK parents? Because I've been speaking to people who are concerned that Hearts and Hands are closed and there's like, oh, well, what am I going to do with my kid after school? I
Yes,
work
we
at
have
5 and
So we have done, I think we sent something out versus via. So we will
Yeah.
put it out through Parent Square
Okay.
and I will make sure it goes out tomorrow, Wednesday.
Okay. And then just to make sure, even though the contract is going to come in September, their
Oh, no, they
facility.
start now.
They
Yeah.
start now.
Yes.
Okay, just to make
Yeah,
sure.
they're just in the middle of their fundraising and so
Yeah.
other things got in the way, but
No,
we're
that
still
makes
moving
sense.
forward starting Thursday.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you for clarifying questions.
Thank you, Dr. Pittman. Next is the consent agenda, which requires a roll call vote. Protocol is that actions proposed for the consent agenda are deemed routine in nature and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless any member of the board, the audience, or staff request specific items to be removed from the consent agenda for separate action. So we need a motion to approve the consent agenda. All in favor? Aye. Okay, so now for the roll call, President Reed, aye. Clerk Rios. Trustee Gonzalez. Trustee Lopez Jones. Trustee Rothberg Allen. Thank you. Action items. Protocol for action items includes a staff presentation, questions from the board, public input, deliberation by the board, and voting by the board. During public input, there will be a 3-minute time limit per person. Board policies and administrative regulations. Michael?
Ready.
working on our new agenda format here. I will find it. Yeah, these are standard updates. These are based on updates to the law. No unique policy updates from Calistoga Joint Unified School District, simple updates directly from EdCode and CSBA.
Staff recommends approval of the board policies and administrative regulations as presented. All in favor? Aye. Next, memorandum of understanding with the California School Employees Association, Chapter 555, regarding workplace move, workspace move stipend.
Yeah, we had we've had a lot of construction. And so we had an MOU with CSEA that if the construction resulted in displacement of a CSEA member, there was a level of compensation that came with that. That MOU expired, but the construction has continued. And so we have an instance this year where some staff members were displaced, and so we decided to extend the MOU.
All in favor? Aye. Next, memorandum of understanding with Calistoga Association of Teachers regarding union officer leave for the CAT chapter president for the 2026-27 school year.
This is an agreement for the CAP president, Matt Godinez, to be released from his duty as a classroom teacher to attend to union business for approximately 10% of his duty or teaching days, up to 20% of his teaching assignment.
All in favor? Aye. Next item is superintendent's contract for 2026 through 2030.
This represents an extension in Dr. Pittman's contract through 2030, with all other provisions in the contract remaining the same.
All in favor? Aye. Next item is Calistoga Joint Unified School District's representative on the Napa Valley Adult Education Consortium.
The Education Consortium provides state funding for California adult schools and non-credit programs at community colleges. I am the sitting representative, and was named that when I first started, as long as I sit in this chair. But we also now need to name an alternative in case I'm unable to make the meetings. And so I'm bringing to you to rename myself and to name Michael DeFrancesco as the alternative, as long as he sits in the position that he sits in.
All in favor? Aye. Next is resolution 262702, change signatories of the Calistoga Elementary Student Council account.
This is a resolution coming before you to change the signatory for CES's bank accounts from the former principal to our new principal, Liliana.
All in favor? Aye. Next, we have contract with Red Willow Landscaping. Warren ready. All in favor? Aye. Next is agreement with Ross Recreation Equipment.
Don't move.
All in favor? Aye. Next is agreement with Youth Cinema Project.
Yeah, so I talked about the summer program that we did with the Brandon Center. So it was so well received. They offer two forms of during the school year. One is actually during the school day in the classroom in an English class. But the option that we chose is an after school format that allows for 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. So they are also giving us a 20% discount for this first year. So it'll be open to all 6th, 7th, and 8th graders that want to attend. There's 30 slots. And they will actually be done in 3 different cycles. The first cycle is 8 weeks. I think the second cycle is 10 weeks and then the third cycle is 15. So that allows students, they could be enrolled the whole time, or if they play a fall sport, they can do the fall sport and then enroll later on, or they can be enrolled at the beginning and then opt out in the middle to go play a winter or a spring sport. So pretty excited about this. We're going to see how it goes. It'll be on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 3 to 4:30, which allows the sixth graders to walk over. They get out at 2:50, so they can walk over. And it will be housed here at the junior senior high school. We don't know what classroom yet. We need to find a space. But I'm pretty excited about this transition. And what my hope is that, you know, the number of students that were involved this summer, that will increase to this offering, and then next summer will be even more, and we'll continue to get kids that are engaged and really enjoying this work.
So Sophia participated in the summer program and she really, really loved it and she learned an incredible amount. The amount of students that signed up was pretty small.
Yes.
So I'm not saying that this project is not worth it because I saw it in real form, how incredible and transformative the program is. Do we know beyond a reasonable doubt that we will have enough interest from sixth, seventh, and eighth graders to justify the cost of this program?
Right now, we don't. We're just going to try it out.
Yeah.
It comes from our ELOP money, which we have enough of. And so we're going to go for this first time. And then if we don't get enough, we're going to try to recruit and get more. And then we may end up not offering it if we only get a handful.
Right.
But we have enough allocated in our ELOP money right now
Okay.
that we weren't spending,
Okay.
to allow us to try this out and see if we can get more kids involved.
Okay. And I do think it's a great idea to have it kind of in 3 sections. So it can kind of be like to get the feet wet and then to help spread the word and to help grow it. Because again, the program is incredible and I, again, saw it firsthand, but I just want to make sure that we try really hard to get a lot of kids.
Yeah,
No.
we also need to do, you know, the summer is a summer and so
Yeah.
some kids don't want to do
It's more
anything.
challenging.
Also there was some confusion that we didn't do a good job of clearly explaining that you could do our traditional program and do this.
Because it was offered at the
Because
same
it was
time.
offered
as
at the same
summer
time, so they thought they had to choose one or the other. And we have such a great program that they were like, well, I'm already doing that. I don't want to do
Yeah.
the other.
Yeah.
So my hope is that we're gonna get more kids involved and, you know, and then we'll find out from kids. We'll go to classrooms and say,
Yeah.
you know, is this something that you're interested in? If you're not,
Yeah.
then we'll pivot and we'll make a different decision.
Okay.
But I am asking the board to approve for now.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that brings us to closing items. Board member reports.
Well, I have one. I would like to address a recent email from Matt, president of the Calistoga Associated Teachers, concerning the upcoming school board election and Kat's decision not to endorse me for another term on the board. In that email, several concerns were raised regarding my service as a trustee and the actions of the board as a whole. Let me start by saying this: people are absolutely entitled to disagree with me and voice their concerns. They're entitled to question my decisions, oppose my votes, and support other candidates. That is part of democracy, and I respect that. But democracy only works if we speak the truth. One reason given for not endorsing me involved the inclusion of teacher and staff voices in important district decisions. Matt wrote, and I quote, "Both you and she questioned why teachers even give homework at a board meeting the previous year." That is entirely false. When I brought up homework, it was because I had met with a group of high school students who told me they were spending 3 to 6 hours on homework every night. My intent was never to eliminate homework. My statement was never to eliminate homework. It was to review the policy to determine whether improvements were needed for the benefit of our students, and that's exactly what we did. Another concern involved transparency and allegations that board meeting recordings were somehow buried or hidden from the public. To quote Matt's email, "The district and board have started burying certain board meetings over the past couple years by moving them from the main YouTube page into playlists that have to be searched for. None of this seems to represent the spirit and purpose of the Brown Act and raises a lot of questions." These are serious accusations. The fact is that the recordings remain publicly available. Whether they appear on the main page or within a playlist, they are accessible to anyone who wants to view them. If there are administrative or technical issues with how recordings are organized, those issues should wholeheartedly be corrected. But suggesting that I, the board, or the district intentionally tried to hide information from the public is simply not true. I take transparency seriously, and having my integrity questioned through unsupported accusations is both disappointing and insulting. The email also repeated claims that I and the board support cutting outdoor education. Referring to spending priorities and other decisions, Matt wrote, "This $146,000 position costs more than all outdoor ed programs combined, which the district has talked about potentially cutting to save money in the budget." Outdoor education was discussed during a budget advisory committee meeting, along with a long list of other ideas and budget scenarios. One suggestion was reaching out to the Calistoga Education Foundation to explore whether it could help support the program financially. That is very different than advocating for its elimination. I have never said that I support cutting outdoor education. Looking for alternative funding sources is responsible stewardship, especially when neighboring districts are laying off staff, consolidating schools, and eliminating programs altogether. We are fortunate to be in a district that continues to offer these opportunities, and I think that fact gets taken for granted. What concerns me most is the impact misinformation can have beyond politics. Do you know what it feels like to have your child come home in tears because she was told your mom is going to cut outdoor education, so you will not be going to Yosemite in 6th grade? Political disagreements are fair. Public criticism, fair. But when false statements begin affecting our children, we have crossed a line. I welcome honest dialogue. I welcome criticism. I welcome differing opinions. What I do not welcome are claims that distort my record, misrepresent my intentions, and present opinion as fact. In another email, Matt stated, if board trustees would meet to hear teachers' thoughts and concerns, Kat wouldn't have to publicly address concerns as often via reports at board meetings. He also wrote that the issues he raised in these emails had been developing over the past couple of years. The reality is that many of the concerns outlined in Kat's explanation for not endorsing me were the first time I had ever heard of any of these issues. If these issues have existed for years, why were they never brought to my attention? Why were they not brought directly to someone in a position who could help address them? I believe problems are best solved through communication and collaborations, and if concerns are not shared, they cannot be addressed. The people of Calistoga deserve an honest conversation about the future of our schools. They deserve facts, transparency, and accountability from everyone. That is what I have always tried to provide, and that is what I will continue to provide as long as I have the privilege of serving this community. I am proud of the work I have done on behalf of this district. I am proud of the questions I have asked, the issues I have raised, and the time I have dedicated to understanding the needs of our schools and community. Have I been perfect? Of course not. No trustee is, but every decision I have made has been guided by what I believe is in the best interest of the students. As we move into election season, I encourage the public to examine my record. Attend meetings, ask questions, and draw their own conclusions. Judge me on my attendance, my preparation, the questions I have asked, the votes I have cast, and the work I have done for this community. Judge me on fact. I do not expect everyone to support me, but I do expect fairness. I will continue to ask hard questions. I will continue to advocate for students. I will continue to listen to teachers, staff, families, and community members. And when misinformation is presented as fact, I will continue to speak up because our community deserves honesty, transparency, and leadership willing to have difficult conversations. But tonight I want to leave you with something bigger than this email, bigger than any endorsement, bigger than any election. Every one of us Whether we are trustees, teachers, administrators, parents, staff members, or community members, shares the same responsibility. Creating opportunities for our students to succeed. We may not always agree on how to get there. I lost my spot. We may not always agree on how to get there, but our destination must remain the same. Our students are watching us. They are learning from us. They are depending on us. And they deserve adults who are willing to work through differences with integrity, respect, and a shared commitment to the truth and their future. I believe so deeply in this community. I believe in our schools. I believe in our teachers, our families, and most of all, in our students. They are the reason I first chose to serve, and they remain the reason I continue to serve today. Long after this election is over and the endorsements are forgotten, what will remain are the opportunities we create for our students and the example we set for the next generation. That is the work that matters. That is the responsibility that we all share. And that is the commitment I will continue to uphold for as long as I have the privilege of serving on this board. That's it.
Thank you, Laurel. Any other reports? Well, next is the board meeting calendar. We're meeting Monday, September 14th, with the meeting starting at 6 here. And then again, Monday, October 12th at 6 o'clock here. Tentative future agenda items include the summer program report, study session, inter-district transfer numbers and policies. And we do not need to reconvene to closed session, so there's no report of action taken in closed session, which brings us to the adjourned meeting. All in favor? Aye. Thank you, everyone.